2 days before the wedding, my bestie asked me to test my fiancé. She didn't believe that a playboy like Vincent would actually settle down. Her gut feelings were always accurate. So I stayed up all night using a sockpuppet account to act like a pretentious coquette and flirt with him. Vincent crushed me without mercy. Just when I was laughing and crying at the same time, the story suddenly twisted. He replied, "This boring game ends here. I don't mess around with women outside you too. Violet. Next time just use your main account when you want to sext me. Violet is my best friend." Chapter 1. After I quickly processed those 3 texts, I felt the blood drain from my body. Panicked. I closed my eyes and pinched myself. Amid the chaotic pounding of my heart, I confirmed this wasn't a dream. Vincent had cheated with Violet. But how? Weren't they supposed to hate each other? Violet always thought Vincent wasn't good enough for me, that he was nothing but rich trash. Vincent always said Violet was annoying, that she kept trying to break us up every time we fought. A video call ringtone yanked me from my thoughts. I numbly hung up. "Why didn't you pick up?" Vincent messaged me. "Don't tell me you're crying? Come to the rose garden. I'll cheer you up. Relax. Even after I'm married, I'll still treat you well. Whatever Alicia gets, you'll get too, including me." Chapter 2. I stared blankly at the screen, a ringing in my ears making my soul feel like it was leaving my body. Huge tears dropped down like rain, through blurry eyes. I couldn't help but recall the first time I brought Violet to this villa. Without me saying anything, she knew exactly where my bedroom was, and where my walk-in closet was. When I took her phone, I realized it had already connected to the Wi-Fi. She said she had accidentally guessed my password. Vincent's oriental short-haired cat was uncharacteristically affectionate toward her. She said maybe it was because she carried my scent. But that cat was always aloof with me, even with toys and treats. It rarely responded. Yet with Violet, who it had just met, it rolled over and exposed its belly. Then there were the identical clothes, handbags, lipsticks, and makeup I saw at Violet's house. Some were things Vincent had given her, claiming it was to win over the future in-law, using me as the go-between. The rest, Violet said, were gifts from admirers. I was excited to gossip, but she brushed me off, avoiding details. I thought she was just shy. Turns out, she was hiding something. I also remembered those times when we were shopping together, and the two of them started bickering in front of me, fighting for attention. More than once, their tense fights broke into shared laughter, and I, like a fool, had been so happy thinking their relationship was finally getting better. Those two had used me as a flirting prop, and played me for a fool. Chapter 3. My eyes were swollen from crying, and my mind was in a fog. I grabbed the car keys and stepped on the gas, driving straight to the Rose Garden. The Rose Garden was Vincent's other residence, where the groomsmen were staying. They were throwing a party there today. Vincent was there. To my shock, so was Violet. Through the iron fence, I saw them by the pool. Vincent looked drunk. His sharply defined, handsome face was tinged with a faint flush, with hazy eyes. He leaned in and blew into Violet's ear, his arm hooked around her neck. Violet curled her lips in mock annoyance and playfully pushed him into the pool. The groomsmen around them hooped and whistled. Vincent surfaced, flipped his wet hair back, and flashed a wicked grin. Then he grabbed Violet by the ankle and pulled her into the pool. As she shrieked, he scooped her up and pressed her against the pool wall, kissing her fiercely and possessively. The crowd erupted in cheers. Someone popped champagne, fireworks went off nearby, and someone cracked a joke about me. "Vincent, you're marrying Alicia the day after tomorrow, and you're making out with her bestie today? That's kinda messed up, man. Ha ha ha. As long as neither of us tells her, Alicia won't know a thing, even if Vincent actually sleeps with Violet tonight. There's the Vincent I know. All that groveling to win Alicia over before, acting like she was the one and only. Turns out it was all a show. I seriously thought you'd gone full TV drama. Reformed playboy turned devoted lover and everything." Vincent finally broke off that long kiss. His voice was low and magnetic, with that lazy, roguish tone he always carried. "I really do love Alicia. She's the only woman I ever wanted to marry. I can pamper her, love her, grow old with her. But to ask me to stay abstinent at this age, just for her." Vincent chuckled. then planted a loud kiss on Violet, who was gasping against his shoulder. I just can't. He carried Violet out of the pool and laid her down on a lounge chair. Someone nearby hurried to throw a towel over him, but Vincent pulled it off and used it to cover Violet instead. Someone asked, "Vincent, are you still going home tonight?" Violet lifted her slightly reddened eyes and looked at Vincent. Vincent crouched down and affectionately pinched her cheek. Alicia cares more about Violet than she does about me. I'm only second in her heart, and now that Violet's upset, of course I have to stay here and comfort her. He waved a hand over his shoulder. Sam, message your sister-in-law. Tell her I'm drunk and staying here tonight. I'll pick her up myself tomorrow for the rehearsal. Just as the tears flooded down uncontrollably, my phone buzzed. A message from Sam. Sis, Vincent's drunk. He won't be coming back tonight. Try to get some rest. He'll personally pick you up tomorrow for the rehearsal. Chapter 4. I stood there for a long time, and I thought about a lot of things. My parents passed away when I was very young. I was taken in by my uncle's family. My cousin bullied me often, and my aunt always turned a blind eye. I didn't dare speak up. Violet spoke up for me. I didn't dare fight back. Violet fought for me. Academically, I was sharper than Violet. Every time I won an award, I shared half the prize money with her. She was an only child, and never much into studying. In senior year of high school, I dragged her along every night, breaking down knowledge into bite-sized chunks and feeding it to her like a spoon. I brainwashed her with dreams, painted her a future. In the end, we both got into a university in this city. In sophomore year, I found out my boyfriend had cheated on me. Violet rushed to the hotel where they were staying, beat up the scumbag, and ripped into the other woman. The year we graduated, we shared a one-bedroom apartment, feeling completely lost about the future. Every night, we slept under the same blanket, tirelessly brainwashing each other with dreams of getting rich and taking care of one another. If I ever make it big, I won't forget you. We'll start by sharing half a bed, and someday share a house. We'd been close since childhood. I already saw her as family. Maybe family wouldn't always love me unconditionally, but I believed she would. So when I was faced with her betrayal, I couldn't even summon the strength to confront her. The same girl who once tore into a mistress for me became my fiancé's mistress. All the trust one had poured in was returned with ruthless betrayal. When I left the rose garden, the moon hung high overhead, and I was chilled to the bone. I thought about everything between me and Vincent. At 25, I had worked my way up to become the lead designer at the top wedding planning firm in City A. During Sam's estate wedding, after staying up all night on site, my low blood sugar hit me hard, and I collapsed straight into a half-meter deep fountain. Vincent happened to be passing by and saved me. He carried me in a bridal hold, water dripping from his brows, and his deep eyes locked with mine. That frame made my heart flutter. I looked into his family background and heard all the rumors about him being a player, so I held myself back. But Vincent gave up all his bad habits and courted me seriously for a full year. He pursued me with respect, sincerity, and unwavering devotion. That New Year's Eve, I had gone back to my hometown to visit my parents' graves, and my phone died midway. After 3 hours of losing contact, Vincent feared I'd fainted from low blood sugar somewhere in the middle of nowhere and drove hundreds of kilometers to find me. He was standing on a dirt path in thin clothes, tears smeared across his face, shouting my name hoarsely and helplessly. In that moment, I thought, Mom, Dad, he's the one I want for the rest of my life. Even after 3 years of dating, I never felt his love fade. He would kneel in the middle of a crowded mall to help me try on shoes. He'd research traditional medicine for my cramps and brew herbal decoctions himself. Before taking me to meet his parents, he prepared me with long, thoughtful conversations, making sure I wouldn't feel a shred of doubt or humiliation. He'd bring me to the power circles of his elite class, proudly and openly introducing me. This is my fiancé, Alicia Lynn, the lead designer at Art GRN. You can call her Miss Lynn. She's amazing. She's won so many design awards. That royal wedding for Princess Josephine? She designed it. Her schedule's booked until the year after next. No, wait. From the year after next. Because next year we're getting married, big time. You'll all get invites. His love had been passionate, flawless. Which is why this flaw felt so grotesque, so fatal. I cried my heart out in the hotel, I kept telling myself, it's just betrayal, right? Just a cheating jerk, right? The wedding hadn't happened yet. The certificate wasn't signed. I still had time. I could run far away. Escape from here. Escape from these devils. But then again, I didn't do anything wrong. Why should I be the one to disappear quietly? I would make them pay. And the thing I should reflect on wasn't my sincerity or kindness, but my judgment and my ability to see people clearly. I wasn't wrong. I was good. Chapter 5. The next day, I returned to the villa early for the wedding rehearsal. By the time Vincent came to pick me up, I had already collected myself emotionally, but he still noticed my swollen eyes. "Did you cry last night?" He bent down, gently kissed my eyelids. I was filled with disgust. I was thinking about my parents. I said. Vincent smiled faintly and knelt down to help me change my shoes. "They'll be blessing us from heaven." As I looked at the swirl on the crown of his head, I suddenly wanted to ask, "If you can't stay loyal, why do you want to marry me? Don't you know I can't tolerate even a grain of betrayal?" When you were sneaking around with Violet behind my back, did it never occur to you how much it would destroy me if I found out one day? But in the end, I clenched my teeth and swallowed those words. Vincent had always declared, proudly and publicly, that he would throw an unprecedented grand wedding to marry me, so I would turn that grand wedding into an absurd comedy with my own hands, and Vincent would be the clown at center stage. The rehearsal wrapped up by the afternoon. Before we left, I told Vincent and Violet to wait for me in the car. I went to find my assistant. This $1 million wedding was designed by me and managed by her. After our conversation, her face was clouded with worry. She clearly wanted to say something but hesitated. I pretended not to notice. I knew my requests were unreasonable. These last-minute changes were like pulling a thread that could unravel everything. But I've overseen hundreds of weddings, far more demanding and difficult brides than me. So why can't I be the difficult one, now that I'm the bride? When I got to the car, the driver was nowhere in sight. Vincent sat in the passenger seat, Violet in the back. The atmosphere was awkward as always. I glanced at Violet's slightly swollen lips and let out a mocking smile. So all those times they looked flushed like that. It wasn't from arguing, it was from making out behind my back. And I had stupidly believed they were fighting. I got into the back seat and closed my eyes. Exhausted. "Where's the driver?" Vincent answered. "Went to the restroom. I'll call him right now." I responded with a soft mem. Vincent turned around and handed me my thermos. The scent of rock sugar pear soup drifted into my nose. "You must be tired," he said gently. Then he turned to Violet. Voice firm. "Violet, come sit in the front." "Oh, don't." I lifted my eyelids, grabbed Violet's hand, and turned to her with a bright smile. I still have so many secrets to tell Violet. Vincent frowned in irritation. "What secrets can't I hear?" My smile deepened. "Obviously bad things about you. If you heard them, you'd probably throw Violet out of the car." Vincent snorted. "You're so dramatic. No matter how much you oppose this marriage, Violet, Alicia and I made it through everything. From now on, show some respect with your words." Violet seemed to sense something. She didn't retort like she usually would. Her expression froze. She looked at me, uneasy, and a little guilty. Chapter 6. I leaned in close to her ear and whispered, "I went to the rose garden last night." Violet flinched. She let go of my hand like she had been electrocuted. I guessed she had been with Vincent last night, trying to get him to reveal if I'd tested him. But she didn't dare probe too hard. So she only knew I had tested Vincent. She had no idea what I had found, which is why she had spent the entire day trying to get information out of me. I laughed aloud, swallowing the stabbing pain in my chest as I spoke with cruel clarity. "I saw everything, your secret affair, your betrayal. My dear Violet, my sweet best friend, you've really been so good to me." Violet clenched the hem of her dress and turned her face away, only for me to forcibly turn it back. She tried to signal Vincent with her eyes, but Vincent didn't notice. An elder waved at him from outside the window. He opened the car door and stepped out. Violet tried to follow, but I grabbed her wrist. "Running away?" I said coldly. "Isn't everything going exactly the way you planned? I find out the truth before the wedding. We break up. You swoop in and take over. You weren't afraid to expose yourself. So what's there to fear if I saw it with my own eyes? The outcome's the same anyway, right? Violet stopped struggling and turned to face me, biting her lip. I calmed my breathing and said coolly, "You knew I had tested Vincent. You still showed up for rehearsal today just to gauge my reaction, right? Well, let me give it to you now. I won't follow your script. I will marry Vincent. I will get the certificate." I looked at the stunned look on her face and gave a mocking smile. "You don't believe in the whole reformed player narrative, and neither do I. Rich boys, they all have a wife at home and a crowd of women outside. You think I'd marry Vincent without understanding that? But you actually caught feelings for him, didn't you? But tell me, does he really care about you, even just as a mistress? Or are you just another toy? Don't tell me you actually believed his sweet talk. Do you really think that if I exposed what happened last night, Vincent wouldn't kick you out on the spot and fall to his knees begging me for forgiveness? Out of guilt. He'd probably treasure me even more for the next few years. So guess what? How do you think he'd treat you?" Violet's eyes welled with tears. My heart clenched. I took a deep breath, but I still choked up as I said, "You threw away over 20 years of friendship for a man like that?" Violet lowered her head and hugged herself, pressing her hands over her ears. I turned my face away too, unable to hold back my own tears. It hurt. God, it hurt. It was like something that had taken root in my heart for decades had been violently ripped out. Every tug brought flesh and blood with it, and the pain was suffocating. "Why are you crying?" Vincent had gotten back into the front seat and immediately sensed something was wrong. He turned around sharply, his brow furrowing deeply. "Violet, what did you say to Alicia? Why did you upset her?" He got out, squeezed into the back seat beside me, and said firmly, "Violet, go ride with the bridesmaids." Violet's face went pale. Her lips trembled as she looked at him in disbelief. "Did you not understand me?" Vincent snapped, voice like a whip. Violet wiped her tears, slammed the door, and stormed off. Vincent pulled me into his arms, voice suddenly soft and gentle. "Baby, tell me, what did you two just talk about?" Outside the car, Violet's steps visibly faltered. I said in a trembling voice, "You misunderstood her. We were just talking about something emotional and personal." Vincent frowned. "What the hell is wrong with her? Talking about that kind of stuff right now? What if it messes with your mood? You're getting your makeup done tomorrow. What if your eyes stay puffy from crying?" He was speaking loudly. His voice drifted through the car window, like a dull blade pressed to Violet's back, forcing her to walk faster. Chapter 7. The day of the wedding. The castle stood solemn and majestic, with rolling green lawns stretching far and wide. Dressed in a pure white gown, I arrived in a flower-adorned carriage. The rhythmic clatter of hoofs echoed alongside the beautiful melody of string instruments. Vincent stood on the lawn in a sharp suit, eyes shining as he waited for me. I took his hand as he helped me off the carriage, and we walked together toward the stage. Petals drifted down, butterflies fluttered through the air, and applause broke out around us. After the MC opened the ceremony, Vincent ditched the script and delivered a 10-minute speech, confessing his love. I saw his trembling jaw, his shaking hands. By the end, his eyes were red and watery, and his voice quivered. He spoke about the day we first met, about the moment we fell in love, about the little tender things we'd shared over the years. But all I could think about was what he had said that night in the pool. But to stay faithful just for her? I can't do that. As tears slid down my face, Vincent pulled me into his arms. I heard the frantic pounding of his heart against his chest. He was incredibly nervous and incredibly happy. I thought, he does love me. His vows were real. So was the betrayal. Two contradictions, both true at once. The MC gave the closing lines. The vow exchange was moved to the evening. That wasn't part of the original plan. Vincent glanced at the MC in surprise. I tugged on his sleeve gently and whispered, "It was my idea." And then, that evening, surrounded by flowers, beneath dazzling lights, staring straight into Vincent's expectant, emotional eyes, I said, "I don't." The MC froze. The guests gasped in shock. The joy in Vincent's eyes was instantly replaced with disbelief, then slowly morphed into fury. He stared at me like he couldn't believe what had just happened. and I looked back at him calmly. At exactly 8 o'clock, the lights above us dimmed, and fireworks lit up over the lake in the distance. Bursts of color and shape unfolded across the night sky, vivid and beautiful. Reflections scattered across the water, dreamy and surreal. I watched for a moment. Then I lifted my gown and gracefully stepped down from the stage. The wedding I had poured my heart into, every detail carefully planned, crafted with love, had finally come to an end. Chapter 8. Vincent stopped me at the castle entrance. His face was darker than the night sky. Alicia, what the hell is this supposed to mean? I looked at him calmly. Then, with indifference, I returned the words that had been like a thorn in my heart, word for word. I really love Alicia. She's the only woman I ever wanted to marry, but to stay faithful just for her. I can't do that. Vincent froze for a second, then fury lit up in his eyes. Who told you? Was it Violet? It was her, wasn't it? I let out a short, cold laugh. So, turns out you can't handle betrayal either? Then how did you have the audacity to betray me like that? Was it her? No, I heard it live at the Rose Garden. Vincent's gaze turned icy, and his voice grew harder. You knew everything, and you kept quiet. Just so you could humiliate me like this today? Alicia, you've really grown some nerve. I smiled faintly. Vincent, you really think too highly of yourself. Guess why I moved the vows to the end? Vincent's brows furrowed, his eyes narrowing sharply. Because I wanted to walk through this entire wedding. I wanted to see the fireworks tonight. I paused all work and spent a whole year preparing for this wedding. I revised the design drafts over and over. I traveled around the country, meeting with top florists and paper artists. I sourced materials, contacted prop companies, and made sure every single element would land flawlessly. I fine-tuned every detail. I tried on hundreds of wedding dresses, swapped out countless pairs of shoes, tested dozens of makeup looks. Vincent, there will never be another man in my life worth putting this much effort into a wedding for. This might be the only wedding I ever have. Finishing this wedding, one that so many people poured their hearts into, mattered more than humiliating you. Didn't you notice? During the wedding shoot today, the cameras never even focused on you. This wedding? I only needed footage of myself. Vincent's face was tight with rage. His lips pressed into a sharp line. His black eyes locked onto me like they were trying to burn holes through me. So what? You're ending this? I took a deep breath. I think my I don't made that pretty clear. Vincent was silent for a long moment. Then his voice trembled slightly. Alicia, think this through. Once you leave me, you won't find anyone else with better conditions than mine. I gave a small smile. Why would I need to? I've got a career, I've got savings, I've got a brain, and I've got talent. I can live a rich and joyful life all on my own. You don't need marriage to boost your career, and neither do I. Vincent's expression turned stone cold. His jaw clenched tight. The pale light fell across his shoulders like a sheet of frost. Alicia, don't regret this. I won't. I turned around, shoulders straight and back proud, walking away down the gravel path. But the tears still slid down my chin, falling quietly along the way. Chapter 9. I stayed in a hotel for 3 days, pulled out my SIM card, deleted all my social apps, lived like a total recluse. By the time I stepped out of that hotel, my eyes had trouble focusing. I hailed a cab and went to Vincent's place. The lawn was scattered with shredded red carpet. The decorative wedding emblem on the gate had been ripped off, crumpled into a ball, and tossed on the ground. The villa was completely empty. Traces of destruction everywhere. The couch was tilted, a vase shattered across the floor. Clearly, Vincent had had a meltdown here. I crept upstairs and started packing my things. Most of what I owned was bought by Vincent. After leaving those behind, there was very little I could actually take with me. Just one suitcase. As I dragged it downstairs, I met Vincent's eyes. He was lying on the floor, staring up at the ceiling. His hair was messy, clothes wrinkled. He held a cigarette between his fingers, took a long drag, then crushed it out on the floor. That sharp, striking face of his was half lost in the white haze of smoke, carrying a twisted, decadent beauty. I held my breath and quickened my pace. Don't go. As I walked past him, he murmured in a hoarse voice. I didn't stop. I said don't go. He shouted. He got up and caught up in just a few steps. He kicked my suitcase aside, grabbed my shoulders, and forced me to face him. Then he lowered his head and kissed me. Overwhelming and forceful, the bitter taste of smoke and alcohol flooded into my mouth through his kiss. And I fought him desperately. It was useless. Tears welled in my eyes. When I finally broke free, I slapped him hard across the face. "Get away from me, Vincent!" Vincent slowly turned his head back, eyes dark with danger. The next second, he hoisted me up onto his shoulder. No matter how hard I kicked or hit him, he didn't let go. He carried me all the way to the bedroom and threw me onto the giant red bed. Dizzy from the impact, I looked up as he shrugged off his jacket and loomed over me. His cheeks were flushed from alcohol. His pale fingers brushed away the tears at the corner of my eyes. His voice came rough and low. "Alicia, what rich man doesn't cheat? I'm not a saint. You shouldn't have blown this out of proportion, ruining our wedding. Ruining everything between us. Yeah, I said it, that I couldn't stay loyal just for you. But I also said I love you, and you're the only woman I want to marry. I said I'd cherish you, spend my life with you. How come you only heard the first part and ignored the rest?" Tears streamed down my face. How did I ever fall for someone like this? I glared at him, humiliated and furious. "You disgust me, Vincent. You absolutely disgust me. Let go of me. I don't want to see your face again." Vincent frowned. After a moment of silence, he tugged the corner of his mouth into a twisted smile. "Once you're carrying my child, you won't be so eager to leave me. Alicia, let's have a baby." I felt ice pour into my veins. Just as he shifted his weight to pin me down, I began struggling in absolute panic. "Vincent?" A voice came from outside the room, a man's voice. One call after another. It was Sam. "Vincent, which room are you in? Say something, your mom's been blowing up my phone." Vincent froze. In that split second, I used all my strength to break free from under him, bolting barefoot across the freezing cold floor. As I reached the door, I slammed into Sam, but I didn't stop running. Down the stairs, into the living room. I turned once to make sure Vincent hadn't followed. Then I grabbed my suitcase and ran out the door without looking back. Diving straight into a waiting cab, I floored the gas. Only after speeding a few hundred meters did I finally ease off, still shaken and breathless. Chapter 10. Because of the wedding with Vincent, I had taken a year-long leave from work. After the ceremony, there was supposed to be a 2-month honeymoon, but now, there was no honeymoon. During this time, the outside world was full of gossiping faces, and I had no job to distract myself with. So, I decided to travel alone. The day before I left, I went to visit my parents. In front of their graves, I told them everything I'd been through, how painful it had all been. "I'm glad you weren't there to witness it. Otherwise, it would have hurt you so much. If I had looked up and seen the comfort in your eyes, I probably wouldn't have been able to hold back my tears." My dad had been a long-haul truck driver, often gone for 4 or 5 days delivering goods. In summer, when fruits were in season, the trips were even more frequent. He'd barely finish one route before servicing the truck and hitting the road again. My mom was a homemaker. Besides managing the house and caring for me, she did handcrafts for extra income. They both did their best to give me everything they could, even though I wasn't their biological child. I don't remember us having many meals together, but on important birthdays and holidays, we were always all there. Our favorite breakfast was rice noodles from a little place on the west side of the city. I used to sit on my dad's shoulders and hear him call out in his loud, booming voice, "Boss, 3 bowls." When I snapped out of my memories, I suddenly realized someone was standing next to me. I turned my head and saw Vincent's face. My face went pale instantly. I nearly collapsed to the ground. Vincent froze for a second when he saw my reaction. Then he turned his head, voice low and quiet. "I'm sorry for forcing you that day. I've been thinking these past few days, and I realize how horribly wrong I was. I think we need to talk." He looked at me with a downcast gaze. In the past, during arguments, if he gave me this look, the next second, I'd melt and throw my arms around him. But now, I frowned in disgust and said coldly, "There's nothing to talk about. Leave. I don't want to see you." He paused for a breath, but acted like he didn't hear me. He picked up a piece of yellow joss paper nearby, lit it from a candle, and placed it into the pile of ashes. Vincent, I said leave, I yelled, and then, suddenly, a gust of wind came out of nowhere. The burning joss paper was lifted into the air, swirling violently. A flickering tongue of flame lashed across the back of Vincent's hand. He reflexively yanked it back, staring at the red burn forming on his skin. He turned and looked, surprised, at my parents' grave. I stood frozen too. I hadn't cried while telling my parents all I'd been through. Not even while recalling the fragile little fragments of memory from our time together. Not even while screaming at Vincent. But now, the tears came like a flood. Mom, Dad, you've been with me all along. Alicia. Vincent frowned, heart aching as he looked at me, reaching out to wipe away my tears. But I turned away. I wiped my own tears and choked out. Just go. My parents don't like you. Vincent's eyes reddened slowly. Moisture glistened at the corners. He bent slightly at the waist, clenched his fists tight, then slowly released them. He looked once more at my parents' grave, then turned back to me. I'm sorry. And with that, he walked away, leaving behind the hunched, hollow figure of a man. I crouched down by the ashes, crying uncontrollably. Chapter 11. The day after visiting my parents. I woke up early and headed to the airport with my luggage. Just before boarding, I got a call from Sam. He said Vincent had been in a car accident on the way home. His injuries were serious, but he was refusing treatment. Sam hoped I could come back and talk to him. I frowned and said nothing. The airport announcements filtered through the speaker and reached Sam. He gasped on the other end. You're at the airport? Then his voice dropped quickly. Perfect. Catch a plane or high-speed train over here right now. Vincent's in a terrible mental state. You need to talk to him. Calm him down. You've got me on speaker, don't you? Sam hesitated like a glitching cassette tape. Yeah, it's been on. He's listening. Just talk. I spoke coldly. Vincent, we have absolutely nothing to do with each other anymore. I won't be guilt-tripped into caring about you. And I won't come back. I'll never forgive your betrayal. Heavy breathing came through the speaker. Then Sam exploded on the other end. Alicia, what the hell is wrong with you? Vincent is hanging by a thread and you choose now to say something like that? Are you trying to push him over the edge? Do you have any idea how furious his parents were about what you did at the wedding? If Vincent hadn't taken the punishment to protect you, you'd have been buried already. He took a brutal whipping and still went to pick you up. You didn't even come back with him. That's bad enough. Now he's lying in a hospital bed with an oxygen mask on. And you still talk like this? Do you have no heart at all? He cherished you, humbled himself for you, begged and groveled just to win you over, and this is how cold you are now. I choked slightly. If he really cherished me, he wouldn't have gotten involved with Violet. And you're no better than him. When he claimed to quit all his bad habits but kept hanging out with you guys, I should have realized, deep down, he was always one of you. Alicia. I hung up, grabbed my suitcase, and boarded my flight. Chapter 12. In those 2 months, I traveled to many places and saw countless beautiful sights. Snowy mountains stretching endlessly, vast fields of flowers, desolate, majestic desert sunsets, mysterious, hidden caves, vivid, colorful underwater worlds. I fully immersed myself in freedom and in life. And I began to think differently about myself, about the world. My skin darkened a bit, grew a little rougher, but my body and spirit felt stronger, more alive. I had entered the world of the independent. The rules of the game were health, freedom, and financial strength. I came back to my company with a heart full of inspiration, ready to conquer the wedding industry. I also started exploring other fields. I rarely thought about Vincent anymore, only when I'd hear his name in passing at a quiet bar. Vincent had gone back to his old ways, throwing money around in bars, drunk out of his mind. Women by his side rotated weekly. He completely abandoned his business. He drove like a maniac every time he raced. The heir of the Yen family, who had been managing things for him, was so stressed he practically aged into a eunuch. Yet Vincent still treated him like a nuisance. Eventually, they had a massive fight and broke all ties. When I heard these things, I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel relieved either. I just felt calm, because I had truly, finally, let him go. Chapter 13. It was after work. I had just entered the underground garage and was pulling out my car keys, when someone came up from behind, pressed a cloth over my mouth, and everything went black. When I woke up again, I was in Vincent's villa, on the same couch where I used to sit cross-legged, curled up against Vincent, basking in affection. Across from me sat two people, Vincent's parents. It had only been half a year since I last saw them, but they looked significantly older. Even Vincent's mother, who used to throw money at skincare without blinking, now had deep lines across her forehead. I stared at them with fury in my eyes. Dragging me here with such low and despicable methods, what do you want? Vincent's father sat upright, clearly not intending to say a word. After a moment of silence, it was Vincent's mother who finally spoke, face full of remorse. Miss Lynn, we deeply apologize for bringing you here in such a rough manner, but we truly had no other choice. Vincent did something terrible to you. As his mother, I clearly failed in raising him properly. I owe you an apology. We invited you here today to ask for your help. Please, help us talk to him. Ever since you left, he's been spiraling, drinking nonstop, racing recklessly. If this continues, I'm afraid he's our only child. Please, I'm begging you. A parent's heart can't take watching their child destroy himself. Back then, he gave up all those bad habits for you. And now, because you left, he's fallen back into them. He still has feelings for you. Only you can pull him out of this and bring him back on track. As his mother, I beg you. Tears streamed down her face as she pleaded. I clenched my fists silently. Auntie, you've come to the wrong person. I can't do that, and I don't want to do that. If you try to strong-arm me like this again, I won't mind watching Vincent lose his mind completely. Vincent's mother covered her mouth in pain, her expression stricken. I'm sorry, we won't bother you again. The moment her words fell, I heard a low, dark, terrifying male voice from behind me. Who gave you permission to bring her here? I turned around and met Vincent's bloodshot eyes. His face looked leaner. His skin had that sickly pale tone, even under his coat. His tall frame was still intimidating. Dark brows, sharp features, his eyes held something stormy and dangerous, like a storm gathering behind glass. It made my stomach knot. Get out, all of you, he bellowed with fury. I quickly stood up and headed for the door. Behind me came the sound of a vase shattering, followed by his father's furious yelling and his mother's sobs. One slap after another landed on Vincent's face. He didn't dodge a single one, just stood there taking them as he screamed hysterically. Get out! I said get out! Who told you to come here? I don't want to see any of you. I stopped in my tracks and turned to look at the scene, a full-blown family meltdown. Vincent. The hall went strangely silent at the sound of my voice. Both of Vincent's parents turned toward me. Vincent stood motionless, his back half turned to me. I could see his disheveled hair, the swelling on his face. Don't shout at your mother like that. Take care of yourself from now on. Goodbye. Chapter 14. 2 years later, a stranger added me on WeChat. Because of work, I've always been pretty relaxed about accepting new contacts, so I greeted them first. They didn't reply. Their profile picture was of a cat. I couldn't tell their gender. Just as I was about to tap into their feed to check, they sent me an e-invitation for a wedding. I opened it. The title read, We're Married, Jonathan Violet's Wedding Invitation. The cover image was a photo of Violet with an unfamiliar man. In the picture, she was smiling brightly, boldly, just like she had when she stood on the podium after winning the jump rope competition back in school. I stared at that photo for a long time, then scrolled down to read their love story. They had met the year before last, dated for a year and a half, then got engaged and registered for marriage. In every photo, Violet looked genuinely happy, not posed, the kind of joy that comes from deep within. The man was handsome and composed, with a calm and reliable presence. Back when we used to guess each other's ideal type, I had once imagined that Violet would like someone just like this. She was too wild, too playful. She needed someone steady, someone who could give her a sense of security, someone who would spoil her, watch her throw tantrums, watch her laugh. Back then, Violet had responded dramatically. How could you think I'd like that type? Ha ha ha. I don't like that. That's husband material. But for dating? Please, I need someone thrilling and intense. What do you mean by thrilling and intense? Cool, hot, not the clean-cut kind of handsome. I like the dangerous charming type. The kind who can flirt and coax. One lift of an eyebrow and I'd be dying to kiss him. I thought about it. Vincent was exactly that type. For a moment, I felt a little dazed and a little nostalgic. I exited the invitation and went to check Violet's moments. She'd been doing really well these past 2 years. Found a job she enjoyed, no longer drifting aimlessly. Made new friends and fit into her new social circles with ease. Her fiancé treated her well, took her to many places, and they took plenty of beautiful photos together. I exited her moments and sent her 2 short messages. Congrats on the wedding. I won't be attending. Please don't contact me again. Then I blocked and deleted her. Honestly, on the day of my own wedding, deep down, I had hoped Violet would come, that she'd walk me down the aisle. Even though what happened the day before had been so ugly. But she didn't show. She was the one who broke our promise first. So for her wedding, I didn't want to be there either. What happens to her in the future has nothing to do with me anymore. Extras, from Vincent's perspective. I fell for Alicia at first sight. That day, out of sheer boredom, I arrived early at Sam's wedding venue. People were moving all sorts of props and equipment around, so many coming and going. But the moment I saw her sitting cross-legged on the grass, I couldn't look away. She had the kind of side profile that could only be described as flawless. Her skin was porcelain pale, her limbs slender. Her head was bowed as she focused intently on the checklist in her hands. She wore simple clothes, and her hair was even a little messy. But to me, she was stunning. I thought she was someone from the bride's side, but someone nearby replied in a surprised tone. You don't know her? That's Alicia, ArtGRN's lead designer. She's Amy's only protege. She's huge in City A. I was momentarily stunned. I never planned on getting married, so I had no clue who was famous in the wedding industry. But Amy's, I did know. He was a renowned artist in his early years, then transitioned into wedding design and created quite a stir. Didn't Amy's refuse to take on female apprentices? Yeah. But Alicia's talent and persistence wore him down. She convinced Mr. Lin to take her under his wing. My curiosity was completely piqued. I was about to walk over and start a conversation, but Alicia vanished from view. I turned my head just in time to see her collapse into a shallow fountain. I instinctively rushed over, jumped in, and pulled her out. She was soaking wet. In my arms, she felt as light as a feather. The water dripped down her cheeks, making her already elegant face come alive in a striking way. She stared at me, eyes locked. I saw myself reflected completely in her gaze. In that moment, I could hear the pounding of my own heartbeat, fast, rhythmic, intense. I added her on WeChat. After Sam's wedding, I asked her out to dinner a few times. She agreed at first, came to a couple, but then, she kept turning me down. Strange. All those society girls, those heiresses and debutantes, were practically wolves circling my empty spot on the household registry. But Alicia? She pushed me away like I was radioactive. I'd played the dating game long enough. I knew she liked me. I figured Alicia wasn't like those other women who threw themselves at me. She needed to be pursued, for real. But somewhere during the chase, I fell. Completely. God knows. During those 3 hours she was unreachable while visiting her parents' grave, I was terrified. Afraid she'd collapsed from low blood sugar in some remote field. Afraid someone else would find her. Afraid even animals would get to her. I couldn't lose her. And that day, I got her. Once we were official, all the love I'd had no place to put finally had a home in Alicia. I spoiled her rotten. But slowly, I started cooling off. Sometimes, looking at us in the mirror together, I felt happy, but also detached. As if the perfect person standing next to me didn't belong in my world. As if I was slowly losing myself to be with Alicia. Back when my friends called me the hopeless romantic, I embraced it. Now, it felt like mockery. So when Violet tested the waters with me, I let myself go with the current and showed my true colors. She used it as leverage. I found it laughable, because she clearly had ulterior motives for me too. I pulled her into the water, pulled her into the mud of betrayal with me. Gradually, I found balance between loving Alicia and preserving my own identity. I never thought Alicia would find out about the cheating, and I definitely didn't expect her to humiliate and retaliate at our wedding. in front of that many eyes. I was furious. After Alicia came back for her things and left again, panic set in. That's when I realized she was really going to leave me, and I couldn't lose her. Drunk and overwhelmed, I said things that were cruel, things I didn't mean. I had wanted to talk to her properly, to beg for another chance. I would promise her absolute loyalty from then on. If only she'd forgive me, if we could get past this, I knew we could be happy together. But she was so resolute, so final, like she'd never loved me at all. I was furious, and I did something I deeply regret. Thank God Sam showed up. He interrupted me before I crossed a line I could never come back from. I found out Alicia was going on a trip, and I also found out my parents were planning to punish her. That's how it works in these powerful families. No one is allowed to disgrace their name without consequences. I threw myself between them and their plans, took the full brunt of their punishment instead. After the beating at the ancestral hall, I dragged my half-broken body to find Alicia. I saw her at her parents' grave. She looked tired, dark circles under her eyes. I wanted to talk, but she was angry, so angry. My throat felt like something was stuck in it. I couldn't speak, so I turned to the joss paper, burning it for her parents. Then out of nowhere, the wind lifted the burning sheet. A flame licked my hand, hard. In that moment, I felt it, that invisible rejection. Alicia's parents didn't welcome me, and then she said it out loud, too. I felt utterly helpless. The wounds on my back throbbed with pain, but my chest, my heart, hurt more. Was I really unable to win her back? On the way home, my head was filled with one question. Was one betrayal, one act of cheating, really enough for her to never want to see me again? I drove straight into the tunnel wall on purpose. Then I called an ambulance and told them to notify Sam. I used my life to gamble for just a glimpse of Alicia's concern. But even over the phone, she wouldn't speak to me gently. She wouldn't come back, wouldn't comfort me. At that moment, I really wanted to die. Sam punched me hard, said if I kept refusing treatment, he'd go confront Alicia himself. I stayed in the hospital for over a month. Alicia never called, not once, never even sent a message. One night, I couldn't take it anymore and called her, only to hear the cold, mechanical voice. This number is no longer available. She had blocked me. So ruthless, so final. I hated her, and I hated how much I still loved her. After I was discharged, I got blackout drunk and burned the rose garden to the ground. Then, as if in revenge, I picked all my bad habits back up. Without Alicia, maybe this is better. Now I could be my wild, unhinged self again. One night at a bar, someone said Alicia had returned, but she never came to see me. I drank even more. Sam tried to stop me. I punched him in the face. He never came back after that. When there's no light, even your shadow leaves. So what hope is there for people? Today, I was in Tingbu when I heard her voice drifting from the hall. My parents had dragged her here, hoping she'd talk me out of the spiral. I stood at the door, fists clenched, holding my breath, straining to hear what she'd say. I thought, even if she just humored me, said a few kind words out of pity, I could pull myself together. But she didn't mind driving me crazier. She spoke as if she had no feelings left for me, not even a trace. I really, truly felt like I was losing my mind. I stormed in, yelling at everyone. Alicia avoided me, walking straight out. Just as I was about to fall completely into despair, I heard her voice. She was calling my name. She told me not to yell at my mother. She told me to live a good life. She had really let go. But what about me? I was still trapped in the past. I couldn't forget her. I had only ever loved one person, Alicia, always. So I pulled myself together again. I took care of my mother, took over the family business. As time went on, the blind dates my mother arranged only increased. I turned down every single one. One day, with tears in her eyes, she asked me, "Are you still waiting for Alicia?" Yes. She's the only woman I've ever wanted to marry. I'm waiting for her. I don't know how long I'll keep waiting. Maybe until she gets married. Maybe until I finally give up. Or maybe until the day I die. Story 2. In my past life, I was murdered in the ocean waves. This time, I purposefully stayed silent for several months and returned smoothly, ready to catch them off guard. My mother stood with her big pregnant belly, while my ex-husband stared at me in horror. How are you back? I smiled and answered, of course. I came to see my mom and my new stepdad, you. Chapter 1. After fixing my phone, I logged into WeChat for the first time in months. The latest message came from my husband, Alex. Everyone, you're invited to my and Sandra's wedding tomorrow. Below, everyone was replying, congratulations, congratulations. I joined the crowd and replied, congratulations, congratulations. The group chat exploded instantly. How could I miss such a grand event? My mother remarried, and her new husband was my husband. Such good news should definitely include me, right? I slowly shut off my phone. Some things are more fun when discussed in person. The next day, after they had convinced themselves that my message was just a prank, thinking someone must have stolen my phone and sent that message, everyone finally breathed a sigh of relief. Being considerate for once, I put on a mask, changed into a formal dress, and walked into the hotel. Hey, did you hear about that dead person's phone sending a message in the group chat yesterday? I know, it's bad luck. Even in death, they still want to cause trouble. The one speaking was my aunt. She'd shamelessly begged me to help get her son into my company, acting sweet in front of me but cursing me behind my back. It's so creepy. You know, they say if someone dies with resentment, their spirit won't rest. I added to the conversation on purpose. My aunt frowned and glared at me. She must have done a lot of bad things. Got what was coming to her. Obviously. Just then, my mother walked over, arm in arm with Alex. She clung to him like a young girl, and they kept playfully hooking their pinky fingers together, looking like a couple in love. Look at how perfect they are together. My uncle downed a glass of white wine, beaming. My sister's so much better looking than her dead daughter ever was. Alex, you're one lucky guy. My mother blushed and hid her face in Alex's chest. If it wasn't for Clara getting in the way, Sandra and I would have been together ages ago. But karma came for her. Alex knew how to put on a show. He cursed me while tenderly stroking my mother's hair. Alex is indeed lucky. They say a woman 3 years older is a treasure. How many sets of 3 are we talking about here? He'll be swimming in treasure by now. I clapped my hands in congratulations. My uncle shot me a suspicious look, then slammed his glass down on the table. Who are you? Do you even know how to speak properly? Such disrespect. Whose family are you from? Call your mother over to apologize to my sister. I smiled sweetly, walked over to my mother, and linked my arm through hers, just as she had done with my husband. At first, she was confused, smiling slightly, but the moment our eyes met, she froze in place, her whole body trembling uncontrollably. I leaned in and whispered in her ear, Mom, I'm back. Everyone was waiting for me to take off my mask. This wedding's main focus was no longer going to be the bride and groom standing next to me. The moment they saw my face, everyone recoiled in shock, some even collapsing into their chairs, legs trembling uncontrollably as they cried out, Ghost! It's a ghost! Auntie, Uncle, it's been a while, hasn't it? Seems like you've been doing quite well lately. Those who had been bold enough to insult me moments ago couldn't even meet my gaze now. They hung their heads, shrinking back like guilty children, eager to escape. No need to rush off just yet. It's such a joyous occasion today, how could I not say a few words? I grinned cheerfully. Chapter 2. I cleared my throat and walked up to the stage, asking the host for the microphone. Testing. Can everyone hear me? Welcome, everyone, to my mother Sandra's and my husband Alex's wedding. I'm sorry to say that the union of these two lovebirds is bound to face some challenges, considering the obstacle, me, didn't quite die. But don't worry, a pile of dung paired with smelly feet, truly a match made in heaven. An older relative, who had just gotten a good look at my face and finally recognized me, fainted on the spot. Thinking I had risen from the dead, my uncle rushed to help. Seizing the moment to put on a performance, he pointed at me and started scolding me. Look at what you've done since you got here. You're a curse. What have I done? I'm just attending my mother and my husband's wedding on the anniversary of my death. You're brave enough to hold it today, but afraid you're acting guilty? My sister gave birth to such a heartless daughter. No empathy at all. Only thinking of herself. It's such a pity for the people around her. Alex, playing the role of the good guy, tried to get me off the stage. His face was full of feigned helplessness, acting as though he were the biggest victim here. Everyone, don't be too hard on Clara. She's been gone for so long. She doesn't know the whole story. It's understandable that she's upset. We should be more forgiving. Ah, so that's the angle, trying to paint me as mentally unstable. Huh? They said the marriage was to dispel bad luck. That ever since I died. The company's performance had been in decline. Marrying my mother was to keep the family together. How noble and selfless of them. You have no idea how much your mother and Alex sacrificed for you. You died and left everything in a mess for them to clean up. And now you have the nerve to come back and criticize them? Exactly, Clara. You should be down on your knees thanking them. A group of relatives egged each other on, their faces twisted with excitement. I could still remember how, shortly after my death, before my body was even recovered, they couldn't wait to convince my mother to use my old clothes for my burial. And my mother? She said no, that she had to wait for me to return, crying her eyes out every day. But the next moment, she had already ordered the coffin and gravestone. Clara, it's my fault I couldn't find you. I've always believed you were still alive, she said, looking at me with pitiful eyes. If someone else had said this, I might have believed them. My mother never liked me from the moment I was born. She thought I had stolen my father's love from her and even tried to drown me when I was a child. After my father died in an accident, she blamed me for it, thinking that if it weren't for me, he wouldn't have had to work so hard to support the family. She even once put tax in my food because my father died in a construction accident. But she'd tell everyone how much she loved me and praised me in front of others. Since they're talking about forgiveness, I guess I won't hold back anymore. I had no idea you all cared so much about me. Now that I'm back, of course, I must sincerely thank each of you. My gaze swept over each guest. See? If she had said that earlier, we could have avoided all this. Always had that ill-fated look, and never did anything right. It's not too late for her to beg us to stay. The crowd whispered among themselves. Uncle, Aunt, I called them out one by one. Those whose names I called straightened up with pride. Their chests puffed out. The earlier they were called, the more smug they looked, as if their standing in my eyes was higher than the rest. I couldn't possibly disappoint their expectations. You've all worked so hard. Since you've been so exhausted, you can all relax in the coming days. You and your children have all been fired by me. Chapter 3. The room erupted in chaos. My aunt's arrogant demeanor instantly vanished. She hunched over, her face creased with a forced smile, holding a glass of wine as she approached me. Oh, Clara, there's no need to say such harsh words. We're all family. How could we let a little disagreement tear us apart? Your aunt took care of you when you were little. Don't you remember? Oh, I remember very well. I remember crying to go home, and my brother slapped me. Then you locked me in the storage room and wouldn't let me out until I admitted I was wrong. When I was a child, my mother thought I had stolen my father's love from her, so she would abandon me in remote places, leaving me to fend for myself. But each time, I always found my way back home. After several attempts, she realized she couldn't get rid of me and sent me to the countryside instead. Then why don't we let my brother organize the storage room, make sure the door is locked, and he can only come out once all the documents from over the years have been sorted. You. My aunt's face turned beet red with anger. Clara, don't go too far. Alex slammed his hand on the table and started shouting. What do you think you are now? This company stopped belonging to you the day you died. What right do you have to act so high and mighty here? So, finally showing his true colors. Shameless, isn't he? Even when stealing someone else's inheritance, he can make it sound so righteous. In my previous life, I hadn't expected to die so suddenly. I didn't have time to sign some of the property documents, which gave this pack of weasels an opportunity to take advantage. Are you sure about that? Why don't you make a call and see for yourself? Let's see if the company listens to me or to a miserable stray dog like you. With a smirk, he made the call. The phone rang for only 2 seconds, but before he could say a single word, the call was abruptly cut off. He stood there, dumbfounded, like a helpless overgrown baby, looking at my mother for answers. Unfortunately for him, my mother, whose head was filled with jealousy, understood nothing. All she could do was mutter, "Impossible. Your uncle should have taken care of it already." My mother grabbed her brother's sleeve, urging him to say something, but alas, my uncle, gripping his phone tightly, trembled as soon as our eyes met. He quickly shook off my mother's hand. "Don't bother calling him. He's just as helpless as you now. You already got the call earlier, didn't you, Uncle?" I tapped my phone screen, showing the document about his demotion. At that moment, my mother suddenly clasped her mouth and crouched down, a thick liquid spewing from her mouth. "Sandra, are you okay?" Seeing this, Alex rushed over with concern, gently patting her back. "Oh." I watched the scene in front of me with interest. My mother was pregnant. Things were getting more and more intriguing. I threw a divorce agreement at Alex. He wouldn't get a single cent of my assets. "Clara, you cold-blooded woman. It would have been better for everyone if you had just died. Why did you have to survive? Why did I survive? To take revenge on this group of murderers. Of course, everyone hoped for my death. Yet everyone tried to please me. How ironic, isn't it?" Chapter 4. In my first month back at the company, I fired all those relatives who had been doing nothing but freeloading. The company's performance immediately returned to its former glory, better than ever. In fact, my ex-husband and mother's wedding had turned into a complete farce. The company's employees had already looked down on him for his lack of ability and pompous attitude, and now he was reduced to doing menial tasks around the office, his face full of shame. My secretary asked me why I didn't just fire him. I simply smiled and said nothing. It was as if my mother was trying to make up for all the years she had wronged me. She followed me around every day, bringing me fruit, pouring me hot water, and even the employees commented, "Auntie is working so hard." But only I knew the truth. It was all an act. She knew I was allergic to mangoes, yet the fruit plate she handed me was full of mango chunks. Her belly was becoming more noticeable by the day. Given her age, being pregnant was clearly taking a toll on her. Even though she had done many hurtful things, I still felt some sense of mother-daughter affection. "Let me pay for the best hospital. You should have the child terminated. You're too old, and the risk is too high." On the way back, my words were meant as genuine concern, but she looked at me in horror, as if I were trying to harm her. She clung to my hand, begging me to spare her. "Clara, I know it's my fault, but the baby is innocent. Can't you even spare one little life? Is your heart really that cruel?" Perhaps words weren't enough for her, because she suddenly dropped to her knees in front of me. "You didn't want to have children, right? I can have this baby and give it to you. After all, we're blood relatives, and Alex really wants a child. Just think of it as mom having the baby for you." People around us were immediately drawn to the scene. Some started taking pictures with their phones. Others asked what was happening, and a few, overhearing part of the conversation, jumped to conclusions. She was still the same as ever. They say blood is thicker than water, but with her, you'd never know. Both I and the unborn child were nothing more than tools to her. This child's birth is destined not to be a blessing. I don't want my tragedy to repeat itself. Not long after, I received a message from my secretary. Someone had posted a video on TikTok of my mother kneeling to me, along with a voiceover. "Unfilial daughter makes her mother kneel in public. Look at what's going on." In the comments section, some were even trying to dig up my identity, and when I looked at the profile pictures, I recognized my uncle's family pretending to be random bystanders. Some commenters were asking for my phone number so they could call and insult me. Well, it just so happens that I had one to share. Calmly, I left my uncle's phone number as a reply. Fair's fair. After all, who would have thought? The very next second, my uncle frantically deleted the comment. Chapter 5. Alex had planned to use the power of online public opinion to stir up backlash against me, hoping to make the shareholders think that my negative press would harm the company's image. He gathered so-called evidence of me exploiting employees at the company, videos and audio recordings, and planned to use them to win people over. Pleased with himself, he scheduled his press conference for the following afternoon. But I acted first, announcing my own press conference for that morning. What can she even say? I've got real evidence in my hands. This is just her desperate struggle, Alex remarked casually during his press conference. Beside him was a timid-looking employee, who he claimed was the key witness ready to expose my true colors. Even though my video was circulating online, very few people knew my identity. Most people still recognized me from last year's news of my supposed death in a shipwreck. I decided to reveal the truth about my survival and to inform the public that the shipwreck wasn't an accident but a carefully planned murder. Since people were curious about my story, I figured I might as well share the parts they were most interested in. Seeing that the tide was turning against him, Alex rushed to the front, shouting, "Don't be fooled! This woman exploits her employees, abuses her own mother, and that shipwreck? It was probably all staged." He shoved the employee he brought to the front, urging her to expose me on the spot. She pulled out a handwritten script from her bag, opened her mouth to speak, but the next second, she tore the paper into pieces. My boss Clara didn't exploit me. It was Alex who forced me to frame her. She pointed at Alex, trembling as she backed away. Alex's smile froze, and for a long moment, he didn't know how to react. "What's the matter? Don't you have another trick up your sleeve?" I teased. "Oh, right." If I hadn't reminded him, he might have stood there like a statue. "Abusing your own mother, right?" I went ahead and finished the words Alex was about to say but hadn't yet spoken aloud. He glanced at me suspiciously, puzzled by why I didn't seem the least bit afraid. I gave him a meaningful smile, raised my eyebrows slightly, and gestured for him to check his phone. Alex sneered and looked at his screen. But in an instant, his eyes bulged wide as if he had seen a ghost. "Like what you see?" I asked with concern. At this point, the media quickly caught on and began checking their phones. A handwritten apology letter appeared on their screens. The first person who had spread rumors online accusing me of abusing my mother had deleted their post and apologized, admitting they had made assumptions based on pictures to attract attention. How is this possible? He promised to ruin my reputation, right? Alex, don't think you're the only one who can play dirty. Someone who's already died once knows far better how to handle people. Seeing his pitiful, pleading face, I smiled bitterly and turned to address the media. "Thank you all for coming. It's said that family scandals shouldn't be aired in public, so I apologize for the scene. The man standing before you is my ex-husband and my mother's lover." The room exploded with chatter. Alex rushed forward to silence me, but security grabbed his arm, causing him to yelp in pain. While I was away, he took great care of my mother. The two of them grew close over time, and I understand that. "Please, give them your blessings." Tears welled up in my eyes as they glistened with emotion. Clara's husband slept with her mom while she was gone? What kind of scumbag is this? How does this guy have the nerve to stand here? If it were me, I'd dig a hole and bury myself alive, with the weight of everyone's stares on him. Sweat rolled down Alex's forehead in large beads. He couldn't comprehend how the once manageable woman before him had become so difficult to handle since her return. I pressed my lips together and locked eyes with him, savoring every bit of his awkward and humiliating state. Chapter 6. After the humiliation Alex endured in front of the media last time, he had since toned down his behavior, playing the good guy in front of everyone. Because my mother was pregnant and needed someone to care for her, I allowed Alex to stay in the house, though I made it clear he wasn't allowed to come near me. One day, while I was busy working in my room, he suddenly appeared behind me with a cup in his hands. Noticing him, I quickly gathered up my documents. "Here, drink some warm brown sugar water. I just heated it for you." He gently placed the cup on my desk. "I remember your period is around these days. It's good for your health to drink this." "Who knows what he's scheming this time?" I said coldly. "I told you not to come near me. Please leave." He sighed, reaching his hand over my head, hesitated, and then withdrew. "We were married after all, and here I am, remembering your cycle. It proves I still care about you. Do we really have to be like this? Do you think acting all sentimental, Pretending you can't forget your ex-wife is going to make any woman fall into your arms? Don't overestimate yourself. Wash your face and see if you're even worthy. As if I had hit a nerve, he left with a bitter remark. You're truly heartless. Guess I was just trying to be nice for nothing. With that, he walked out, seemingly feeling wronged. Looking at the cup of steaming brown sugar water on my desk, I recalled how he had also made me a cup before I left on my business trip. I should have noticed something was off then. Normally, he would check the weather and, if it was bad, would insist I not travel. But this time, he saw the forecast and said nothing. The trip wasn't even supposed to be mine. The person originally scheduled to go had fallen ill, and the others were either too busy or didn't understand the project. So I had to go. There was no trace of deceit in his gentle eyes. I took that as his way of expressing love and drank the water without a second thought. Not long after, my body began to feel strange on the ship, and the next thing I knew, I was sinking to the bottom of the sea, the weight of 1,000 stones pressing on me, trapping me. Even at that moment, I still thought, what will happen to my husband if I'm gone? He'll be so devastated. How laughable that thought turned out to be. Remembering this, I picked up the cup, walked to the bathroom, and poured the water down the drain. How could you pour it out? That was Alex's kind gesture. It's because you never appreciate people's goodwill that you got abandoned by your husband. What's the point of a woman focusing on her career, without a family or children? You're nothing. My mother, pregnant belly and all, stood behind me, lecturing me with her outdated views. At her words, I saw there was still some water left in the cup and handed it to her. Then you drink it. And by the way, I left him. Don't act like he's some treasure to everyone but you. He's nothing more than garbage. Already older, pregnancy had drained much of her energy, making her look even more aged than before. No matter how much I tried to convince her, she was determined to have this baby. You're just jealous that I'm giving Alex the love and a baby that you couldn't. When she puts it that way, what more is there to say? Her pregnancy symptoms were far worse than most people's. Sleepless nights, hair loss, it was constant. I told Alex to take her to the hospital for a checkup. Alex, however, acted like it was none of his business. Oh, come on, isn't that just normal pregnancy stuff? You've never been pregnant, so of course you're freaking out over nothing. If we'd had a kid before, you'd know all this by now. Alex is right. This is normal. It'll pass once the baby is born, my mother added. Siding with him, seeing my expression, Alex backed down, muttering under his breath. Fine, fine. Since Clara insists, I'll take her for a checkup. Alex, I'm fine. Don't listen to her. I can go on my own. Alex impatiently pushed her from behind. Stop talking so much. Your daughter said I should take you. So we're going. She's worried about you. After all, old age just means you're more prone to sickness. Alex is so good to me, unlike my daughter, who only knows how to run her mouth, my mother said, clinging to Alex's arm like a teenager trying to show off. She grabbed his collar and tiptoed up to kiss him. All I could think about was hoping these two eyesores would leave my sight as soon as possible. Unfortunately, despite my mother's high praise for Alex, this scumbag never went with her to a prenatal appointment again. He always had some excuse, or he'd conveniently disappear. Chapter 7. Her situation worsened, and her stomach pains became severe. It wasn't until a neighbor noticed and called me during a meeting that I realized something was wrong. Without hesitation, I handed over the remaining work to my secretary and drove back to get her. Come on, let's go to the hospital. I carefully helped her up. Her face was pale as death, cold sweat dripping from her forehead, but she still mumbled. Why are you here? I want Alex to come get me. She struggled, refusing to go with me. Shut up. If you want to die here, I'll leave you to fend for yourself, and when you're dead, I'll burn you to ashes and scatter them in the river so you'll have nowhere to rest. Even in death. Only then did she reluctantly agree to get in the car with me. After a while, as we drove, her body began to calm down. You disgust me. Why is it that everyone only ever sees you? Your father, Alex, they've always revolved around you. You're wrong. I gripped the steering wheel tightly as I drove, trying to suppress the storm brewing inside me. She had always seen me as an outsider, an intruder who had taken everything from her life. But she had never realized that, from the time I was small, there had always been a little figure by her side, longing for her attention, to earn your praise. I studied hard, refusing to take a day off even with a high fever, to see you smile. I learned to cook your favorite dishes, cutting my hands over and over in the process. All my life, I just wanted your approval, but you never once noticed me. What did I do wrong? Maybe I was never supposed to be born into this family. When I was younger, I used to think that if I were a boy, maybe you would have cared about me more. So for a while, I dressed and acted like a boy, but you still belittled me and ignored me, just like always. As I spoke, tears fell from my eyes, unbidden, whether it was out of grievance or defiance. I couldn't tell. She listened silently, not saying a word at first. Then she finally opened her mouth. You're right. You should never have been born. But your life is worthless. The cheaper it is, the harder you cling to it. Not even the abortion pills could kill you. You won't drink the brown sugar water Alex made because you're afraid it's poisoned, aren't you? She adjusted her seat, making more space for herself. I'm curious, though, how did you manage to survive? You should have sunk to the bottom of the sea with stones tied to your feet. I'll tell you the truth. It was me who drugged the water you drank. A chill shot through my heart. At that moment, we stopped at a red light, and the crimson glow brought me back to the suffocating stillness of the sea. The face of the person who threw me off the boat was somewhat familiar, but I couldn't make it out clearly, the drugs clouding my vision. I'll never forget the feeling of drowning, water flooding my nostrils, my lungs gasping for breath, my head filled with a deafening hum. In the end, I was left in the dark, unable to see anything, even with my eyes wide open. As the car started moving again, she began to speak slowly. It was me who killed you. I don't know how you survived, but this time, let's die together. Whether you think I'm crazy or guilty doesn't matter. I hope in our next lives, we won't be mother and daughter again. As she spoke, she reached out, trying to grab the steering wheel. I fought to keep control of the car. There were vehicles in front of and behind us. I couldn't brake immediately. Sandra, calm down. We're almost at the hospital. But she wasn't listening to a word I said. She kept talking, oblivious to my pleas. If we survive this, I'd like to see who Alex would choose. Your father died from overwork because he chose you. That was his own fault. But Alex is different, isn't he? Clara, don't you dare compare that scumbag Alex to my father. He doesn't deserve it. My mother had completely lost her mind. She pressed one hand over my eyes while the other tried to wrestle control of the steering wheel. I had no choice. Just before crashing into the car in front of us, I grabbed the steering wheel and veered left, crashing hard into the median's greenery. The windshield shattered, shards of glass piercing my forehead. Blood dyed the world in front of me red, and the force of the collision knocked me unconscious. When I woke up again, it was a week later. Alex sat by my bedside, shocked as he watched me sit up as if nothing had happened. You were hurt so badly. The doctor said it would take you months to recover. How did you manage this? I ignored his question. It didn't matter. Maybe the doctor was just wrong. As for my mother, she lost the baby due to the accident. The doctors wanted her to rest, but she pulled out her four and disappeared while the nurse wasn't looking. Chapter 8. Staring at Alex's face, the memory of my past life, being thrown into the sea, became clearer. It was him who tied the stones to my feet, and it was my uncle who helped him push me into the ocean. But who was supposed to go on that business trip? Ignoring Alex's protests, I insisted on discharging myself from the hospital and settling the bill. As I was leaving, I asked Alex, "Aren't you worried about my mom's disappearance? Why aren't you out looking for her?" He took a drag from his cigarette, showing no concern. She's a grown woman. She knows what she's doing. Don't worry about it too much. Or are you afraid she'll come back and try to take you down with her? This man was beyond saving. I left him behind and returned to the company. After instructing my secretary to organize a search for my mother, I went to the surveillance room and reviewed the footage from that day. The footage showed that the person who was supposed to go on the trip was the project manager. But just as he was about to leave, someone stopped him. And that's why he didn't go. instead handling other business. I didn't recognize the person who stopped him. When my secretary returned, I showed her the printed image. She seemed to have a vague recollection. This person was brought in by your aunt, but they didn't work here long before quitting. When did they leave? The second week after you went missing. A group of people had meticulously planned to kill me. This wasn't just about taking over the company, unless they were trying to cover something up with my death. Or maybe they didn't want me to find out about something. Should I contact your aunt to bring this person back? My secretary asked. I raised my hand, signaling her not to. If he was hiding, he wouldn't be easy to find. And if I asked my aunt about him, it would alert them. Bring me the company's financial reports for the last few years. I instructed her. A gust of wind blew in through the window, causing my arm to itch slightly. I scratched it, noticing some skin flaking off. Could it be an allergy? Boss, here's everything, my secretary said as she returned, snapping me out of my thoughts and back into the investigation. I quickly forgot about the possible allergy. Sure enough, over the years, this group had been quietly embezzling funds. Each year, there was a discrepancy in the accounts, totaling over tens of millions. What else could drive them to such madness but money? It had to be something connected to wealth that they were so desperate to hide from me. Further investigation revealed that a large sum of money had mysteriously appeared in one of my rarely used accounts. So that was their plan. If the tax authorities ever came knocking, they would blame it all on me, the dead woman who couldn't defend herself. After all, a dead person can't argue in their own defense. I immediately consulted my lawyer. It was time for them to pay the price for their greed, while they were still reveling in their relief. Thinking that being dismissed wasn't so bad and that I was just a naive little girl, the police arrived at their door. They played innocent, shouting their claims of being wronged. Seeing me being taken by the police as well, their eyes lit up as they pointed fingers at me, slinging mud. Officers, you should be arresting her. We're innocent. We've never done anything wrong. Investigate her. We will investigate everything. Please cooperate with the investigation, the officer replied. My uncle nudged my aunt with his shoulder, and she nodded, as if understanding something, and responded eagerly. Yes, we'll cooperate fully, but don't forget to check out that woman's hidden accounts. Ooh, they're filthy. She leaned in close to the officer, whispering conspiratorially. Meanwhile, Alex arrived at the company and spotted the police cars outside. He hesitated, unsure whether to go inside. But the moment he made eye contact with the officers, he bolted like a guilty man running from the scene. With all the surveillance cameras everywhere, where could he possibly hide? At the police station, my uncle and aunt started spinning ridiculous stories. Whether asked by the police or not, they invented more lies, pinning everything on me. Their statements were so contradictory. Not a single word lined up. They truly believed their honesty had fooled the police and even asked if they could go home soon. But when they saw me walk past them, completely unharmed and smiling as I waved goodbye, the realization hit them hard. Their legs trembled uncontrollably, like deflated balloons. They collapsed into their chairs. Only now did they understand they wouldn't be leaving the station anytime soon. Chapter 9. I had no idea where Alex was hiding. The last time he was caught on surveillance was when he got into a fight after being accused of harassing his girlfriend and was beaten up. I sent my secretary to investigate my mother, Sandra's, whereabouts. But there was no news, given her age and the complications after her miscarriage. If she didn't get proper care, it was entirely possible she had fallen ill due to a weakened immune system. I shook my head. I couldn't let Alex keep living freely, evading responsibility. I tried calling his number, but it was always switched off. Suddenly, I remembered that he had a rarely used private email address. I figured it was worth a shot. I sent him an email, roughly explaining that the police had already identified my uncle and aunt as the ones who embezzled the funds and that we needed his testimony to provide more evidence. I assured him that he didn't need to hide anymore and that the company was in need of his help. Days passed without any reply, and I began to think my plan had failed. But then, he replied using a different email account, asking to meet me in a remote location. After making the necessary arrangements, I arrived at the designated spot. When I pulled up in my car, I realized it was a massive garbage dump. littered with heaps of trash and scavenging homeless people. It was clear Alex hadn't let down his guard. He'd chosen a place where he could easily slip away if things went south. Are you telling the truth? The police really cleared everything up? He wore a black mask and kept his hands shoved into his pockets. Judging by the shape, it looked like he was holding a knife. I nodded, telling him to get in the car. Alex glanced around nervously, as if sensing something. Suddenly, he pulled out the knife. You're lying. If the investigation was over, why hasn't there been any official announcement online? He lunged toward me in a panic. At that moment, a homeless man suddenly stepped in front of me, and Alex's knife plunged into the man's abdomen. But then Alex spat out a mouthful of blood, staggering backward, revealing the knife that had been lodged in his chest. He frantically yanked the hood off the homeless man, his face twisting in disbelief. It's you. Beneath the hood was a woman, her face weathered and worn. Clara. I'm sorry. I finally realize all the wrong I've done. Is it too late for me now? If it weren't for her voice, I wouldn't have recognized who she was. Mom. At the sound of my voice, she trembled slightly. Then, without hesitation, she yanked the knife out of Alex's chest and plunged it back in again, even harder. Alex didn't even have time to utter a word before he collapsed, lifeless. This man, like me, only brought harm by living. The police quickly arrived from all directions, immediately restraining Sandra. She didn't resist at all. I followed the officers, holding on to her as blood continued to flow from her abdomen. Don't talk. I'll get you to the hospital right away. She shook her head and, for the first time, looked at me seriously. She reached up and gently touched my cheek. The warmth of her fingers, the feel of her touch, felt almost unreal. In our next life, let's not be mother and daughter, she murmured again. I wasn't a good mother. I didn't deserve a daughter as good as you. Foam bubbled at the corners of her mouth, confirming she had taken poison long before arriving. Her frail body gave in to gravity, collapsing against Alex's corpse. The doctors later confirmed that both of them were dead. And so, this tragic farce, driven by greed, came to an end. Everyone had pursued what they wanted, some veering onto dangerous paths, others finding some form of satisfaction. I looked down at my arm. The skin had started to peel away, revealing the bone underneath. Yet, there was no pain. When did this begin? I remembered noticing it after the car crash, realizing that despite the severity of my wounds, I hadn't felt a thing. It turns out that rebirth doesn't truly exist. The dead cannot return to life. I was merely a vengeful soul, lucky enough to return to the past. Now that my desires had been fulfilled, my body was finally beginning to decay. I covered my arm, settled my emotions, and prepared to move on. Walking with the dead, how intriguing. No matter how long I have left in this world, living in the present, without regrets, will be enough.